what up everybody, it's your boy the Kryptonian saying here, bringing you a review for One Piece chapter 620. This was a heavy chapter. This was a very heavy chapter, and this was a perfect utilization of flashbacks. And in particular, there's this one line that Jinbe says that it feels like Oda's about to start going into flashbacks now, and this line feels like it was triggering it, but there's so much depth to it, so much depth. And I also want to congratulate Oda or commend Oda on the artwork on this, because just on this page I'm getting ready to read to you guys, you have 2, 4, 6, 7, you have 8 panels on one page. And while it is easy to say it's facial expressions, it's the way that they're drawn in a very dynamic way. When you see Sanji frowning and just the way that his face is shaded in at that point. Beautiful. Beautiful. And it's almost like Oda's saying, see, they're in deep thought. They're thinking right now. And this line right here was so key. Like I said, it's going to start the flashbacks. And it's right here where Jinbe says, okay, it's almost ironic. Those with the greatest power fear change the most. The core of the government decided to join hands with the fishmen, but under the surface, the roots of their racism still runs deep. That was like a mic drop moment, and it's so true. Those who are in power do fear change, and it goes back to the whole thing with the world government and how Nico Robin is continuing to look after the poneglyphs and to seek out the information. And you got the whole thing with the void period and how that's how Nico Robin's island was hit with the Buster call, and it's interesting. And here it's like you have a revolutionary figure as well, and that fish tiger, and it's just like Oda's hammering it home. And now we get this whole thing of a reverie where you had the king allowing to be on there, and Otohime, and just different things like that. And how Otohime, one of the things she was trying to do was establish peace between the fishmen and the humans. And this is what I'm wondering, right? I might be reading into this one wrong. But was Sharaboshi, I hadn't seen the anime, so I just butchered her name. But was the mermaid princess, was her mom human? And the reason I'm wondering that is, and I might have missed it. If I missed it, I apologize. But when Fukaboshi is just knocking heads with all these pirates who are invading all of the Mermaid Island, right? And they're telling them to step on the face. I'm like, damn, that's crucial. They're stepping on human faces. It's like, no, they're not stepping on human faces. They're apparently stepping on the picture of the prince's mother. And when Fukaboshi is like, how dare you tell the people of this island to step on the picture of my mother? And you just see the rage. And the whole thing with the humans and everything is brought up during the invasion. And you get this flashback. I'm like, oh shit. Was the mom human? That changes shit. Changes shit a lot. So, and it would explain a lot. It would explain a lot about, how things are being viewed, and you no longer have this person to act as a buffer. It might explain why the world government had their issues, because it's like, oh, you got this human laying up with this fishman. It can't happen. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Like I said, I might have misread that. If I did, fuck it. You guys know that happens from time to time. But what's really interesting about this, like I said, it feels like something Vivi would have did. Because with Vivi, when you go back to Alabasta, that was one of the things she did. She brought those rebels with Koza and brought them into the fold with her father by the end of the whole arc. And it's, she was one of those forces that was a driving motivator that ended up being partially the glue that stuck those sides together. And I just got, vibes back with Vivi on this. So I like this. Now, what I do want to talk about is, again, when you have the shaded out pictures And you see Nami's facial expression, right? And it first starts early on in the chapter when you get to the Nami portion of it. But there's this one shot here where right after Sanji says, based on what you say, I may never forgive you. And you hear Hachi say, yeah, we really fucked up this girl's life. Look at this panel. The attention to detail right there. She's shaded, but at the same time you see the light, and it's like you, and I think the light and the dark shading on this is to show, like in the background it's white, but you got the darker shading, and I think that's to show just how much she's struggling. How much she's struggling with where she was and where she is now, and you just get the brief rundown. And this was brilliant by the editors or Oda, whoever made the decision. Just include some of these flashbacks, because if you didn't get into One Piece early on, this would make a lot of sense to give more to Nami's backstory. And it's a refresher for those who started from the beginning, but if you jumped on late, and I do know that, you know, One Piece was going through that explosion with Annie's Lobby and then Marineford, it just really, really fucking picked up. So it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense to kind of go on this route right here. Now, what's really crazy is I like how when Nami finally comes to grips with everything, she says, hey, nothing you say is going to make me feel sorry for Arlong, but I will say I am starting to understand. I'm paraphrasing. And she talks about how when she got to the archipelago, she saw how Cammy and Hachi were being treated, and different things were starting to snap into place, and about how Arlong Park looked a lot like the amusement park that Cammy got captured at. And it's very interesting. It's very interesting to see Nami make all those connections. And it's like when I saw it in the way Oda did the panel where it's completely split, and you see the archipelago amusement park on one panel, and then right underneath you see Arlong Park, and like, oh shit, Oda was really going for the symbolism on that. And that's what I mean. Like when it comes to Oda's artwork and everything, I give him credit. You know, like when it comes to designs, I do knock some of the designs, but when it comes to maximizing panels and getting the most out of them, it's so brilliant, because it's like so much details put into it. So much detail. Like I remember when I first found James Hansen, right? First found James Hansen. For those of you who don't know, he's a Bleach reviewer, right? Or I guess not Bleach is over. You know, it's just a Bleach YouTuber. And when I found James Hansen, right? One of the things, you know, he kind of said in one of his videos, you know, when I I can't remember how long ago it was. It's been a while, but it was an offhand comment, and he talked about how, and this is about the Bleach manga was ongoing, by the way, but he talked about how in One Piece the art isn't as good as what you get in Bleach, and it's a different art style. But some of the stuff he was saying about the One Piece artwork, I didn't fully agree with it. And I was still pretty early on in my One Piece journey reading. And looking at chapters like this, and to see how the shading and the expressions and everything, I disagree. I disagree with that. I totally disagree. I think he's gotten very much used to a particular style of art, and that's just my opinion. But I mean, the way Oda had all of this, from the way that the bodies were positioned, like when you had Nami with her hands behind her back and she's talking, at that point you can assume her chest is thrusted out, so you see a little bit of confidence there. But also at the same time, the way that her eyes are drawn, and the way that the lines around them are kind of set up. And she says, yes, after all this time, I still wouldn't pity Arlong no matter what happened to him. Usually when people square up to you like that, and the shoulders, if you look at the panel, and I'll show this one, when you look at the panel, her shoulders are pointing towards Jinbe. That's a confrontational sign of body language. Yet when her eyes on there, you see the conflict. This was very beautiful. This was very beautiful, very beautiful. So right here, like I said, you see her shoulder squared up to Jinbe, but also you see how her eyes. It's almost like there's a little bit of wonderment there, almost like a little bit of wonderment, but at the same time, you can see some of the pain. And then right there on that panel, you just see the reflection and you see the thought, and then you see what I was talking about as far as with the Arlong Park and the park that was on the archipelago. I mean, we're getting a lot of great shit here. A lot of great shit here when it comes to just art style. Very, very beautiful. Very beautiful. I did not intend to make 2 chapter reviews back to back focusing on art, but I mean, I've told you guys since about Thriller Bark, when I'm looking at Oda and I'm like, oh shit, the art has kind of spiked up. I mean, it wasn't bad before, but like attention to detail aspect, some things like there's been some changes and I love it. And what I really like about all this is like, Sanji, my dude is, going from being seriously goofy to all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you remember Yasuku, he told us all about how you became one of the, and I forgot all about that, but he's like, Yasuku told us that you became one of the 7 warlords because you freed Arlong, and I was just like, oh shit, and he was like, I thought you were the mastermind behind all this. And it turns out they're all in the same fucking crew. And I like Arlong's design when he was in the crew. I like how Hachi is basically this little snot-nosed, sniveling motherfucker in the thing. I like that. I really like that one. And what I also like is how when you're looking at all this, it's just showing you not every character who's bad was inherently bad. And it makes a lot of sense. Like I can talk to you being, a black male, right? Like, you go through certain things. It just is what it is. Like, you get certain experiences, and just how in this chapter you get Jinbe saying people who are in a position of power don't really understand, and the roots of racism still run deep. I mean, hell, even now, like, you have things that happen. Like, I drive a luxury car, and yet when I drive, because of where I'm at in the South, I get pulled over for no fucking reason. Despite the fact we got body cams and all this shit, I get pulled over for no reason. I'm not speeding, all my paperwork's in order, and yet I gotta step out my car so you run my plates and ask me what I'm doing and use the plain sight to go through my car to search for shit. And all I got in the back seat is a fucking gym bag. Like, just shit like that. So, and it's something that you don't really understand unless you've kind of been in that position. I like how when Nami is talking, she's coming from a perspective of being open to hearing it. And that's the key. And I feel like that's one of the things that Oda is kind of hammering home, is that there's no excuse to be made for systemic racism, but at the same time, there's no excuse for those who have been a victim of discrimination through race to lunge out at others and make them feel bad. Like, I'm not a racist person. Obviously, I'm not a racist person, but there's no excuse for that. There's no excuse. If you've been through the worst, you should take that as an opportunity to tell someone who hasn't experienced it what you've gone through, how it's kind of changed you, and kind of what you would do to kind of hopefully steer things into a better area. I mean, that's something, I mean, we've had to go through conversations because, being a black male, I got a different perspective on different things. Whereas, like, if you're, fuck it, I mean, I'll just go all the way there with it. This is a chapter on race. I mean, if you're a white male, or in my case, if you're a white female, like, if you're wondering, like, why are you freaking out when a cop pulls up behind you? What's the big deal? You don't fully understand it until I get put in handcuffs and set on the side of the street while my car gets searched. It doesn't really register until the cop goes to the other side of the car and doesn't ask me for license and registration. I'm driving, but ask you, are you okay? Then it kind of hits like, oh, this is what he's talking about. So you have to be willing to the dialogues, and I like how you get that there. And with Sanji, you see Sanji's whole demeanor just shut down. You see Sanji's demeanor shut the fuck down. He goes from super agitated to where you can tell the wheels are just turning in his head. The wheels are just turning. And what I also like about this chapter is Oda is showing you the two extremes when it comes to race. He's showing you two extremes. He's showing you how you have the guys who are basically taking over the island and fear mongering and everything. You see that, and then you see the the guy with the mud fruit ability, right? I think he's a Logia type too. But the guy who's capturing all the mermaids, you could kind of say like, oh, well, that's like, symbolic for, back when different, races were put into slavery and sold with the celestial dragons. And I mean, that could be on there. He's like, yeah, a regular mermaid, 70 million. Won't the princess get me? And you just see shit like that. So I mean, I like that part of it. I really like how Oda's having past and present and everything kind of in there. And like I said, you see them overrunning it, and you can tell like they're just coming from a different place of hurt. But at the same time, you know that what they're doing is wrong. An eye for an eye leaves the world blind. And on this one, if anyone has the right to be pissed off when it comes to anything all along associated, it's Nami. And you can see her just wrestling with it. And even Jinbe takes notice of it. And Jinbe flat out says, it seems you endured a great deal. And it's in that moment where you can tell he's having that for lack of better words, he's having that coming to Jesus moment where he's looking and he's fully understanding the severity of what's happened, of the consequences of his actions. And right there, Nami could have easily lashed out. And in fact, when you have that person shouting, is that all you have to say? Until I saw Sanji underneath it, I thought, oh shit, this is it. Nami's gonna break. And it's kind of one of those things like how when what you have going on now where you have all these different racial tensions where let me Google this shit because I don't remember what city this took place in. There was a huge clashing with like the Alright, hey, sorry about that. So I'm probably gonna edit some of that out to make this more concise. The thing I was referring to was the Charlottesville protest, right? The Charlottesville protests, and in that one you had at first it was supposed to be just this unite the right type thing where you had people who were just peacefully doing their thing, right? But then you had a lot of white nationalists show up. They're lighting the torches, which that goes back to KKK shit. You had people in hoods showing up. It got completely out of hand. It got completely out of hand. And what's really interesting is you can kind of make this connection. You can make this connection right here to what's going on with Arlong and his pirates. At the end of the day, they think what they're doing is right, and yet, or Hody Jones and his pirates. They think what they're doing is right, and they might make valid points on what they're saying, but they're causing more fear, and they're causing more chaos, and confrontation only begets more confrontation. So this is what I'm talking about. I like how what you see with Nami is Nami could have easily dived into that, and that's not what happens. She engages in the dialogue, and I feel like what Oda's using this arc to do is probably going to make people uncomfortable because anytime you bring up race and all this other shit, it's like you can hear a pin drop. Whatever room you're in, you can hear a pin drop. Particularly in the West, because it's something that, and in the South especially, it's something that people don't want to discuss. Like, I'm in the Bible Belt currently, and this is some shit that it's just like, and you've been in the North or you visit other parts of the country, you go, I understand why you're uncomfortable, but at the same time, like, dude, you have to talk about this shit so you can move forward. You know, some areas of the South are kind of like Nami's flashback. They're stuck in the flashback. The only way you get out of it is if you discuss it and you move forward and you seek understanding, and that's what Otis having the character of Nami do. And this is just a beautiful tie-up because now looking back at it, if you just would have had her interactions with Hachi in there, it'd have been an incomplete arc. So I mean, this is beautiful writing. This is very bold writing. I thought that was pretty interesting, and you know, obviously, it stirs some shit up in me as well. But my chapter question to you guys is going to be: if you were Nami in this situation, right? If you were Nami, would hearing what happened with Arlong and what just the whole thing about what fishmen have gone through, if you were Nami, would that move you not to forgive, but to understand how even the most innocent people, if they experience certain things, they can turn into the worst of people? But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, share. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys. Have an awesome day.